at approximately 2:03 p.m. First up, if we could have a form established, please.
Derek Smith,
Present.
Michelle Hosen,
Yes.
Sue Braun,
Yes.
Alex Williams,
Here.
Brett Stump, Timothy
Here.
Hager,
Here.
and Matthew Brokaw.
Here. All right, and next up, if Kurt would mind giving us an indication there.
Gladly. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this wonderful market we get to work in. We're thankful for the spirit of the volunteerism that goes on in our community. Appreciate all that you do for us. May we be uplifting during this Easter season to all that we come across and act more like you and forgive and move on and do things in a way that are uplifting to you. Lord, send us the guests that we need to this marketplace. Let us be hospitable that you call us to be in our community that we learn from in the Bible. Be with us today. In your name we pray. Amen.
Normally we would have questions or chance to update the meeting agenda, but today we're going to take the meeting agenda as is because this is a specially called meeting with a pre-arranged agenda. So if I could please have a motion to adopt the said agenda.
So.
I've got a motion from Alex. I've got a second from Sue. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. All right, we have an agenda approved. First up on that is policies and procedures for recording board meeting minutes. Somebody would like to kick us off on that?
Sure. I'd ask that we have a discussion on the recording of the meetings. Just historically, we as a board decided that was the thing we were going to do in February. Record the board meetings, record the FOC, record the MOC with the caveat that that would be not live streamed, it'd be at the TCED headquarters. And so we went through a process, we researched and developed and figured out what we needed to do, such a task in multiple venues because we want to be good stewards and present in all parts of the district. And so there's been some bumps and bruises along the way with getting that done as it was intended. And so anything from, and I'll preface it by saying it's nothing malicious. I think it's just, being professional and holding to the line on the measure and intent of what the board was trying to do. So I don't think anybody's being deceptive. So I think I need to preface that. But it not being live streamed, several iterations, it not being posted within, there's not an expectation of when that is, but it could be a few days, it could be a week. And there are meetings that should be recorded and should have been posted that currently can't. And to be specific and not vague, September of 2025. So I thought it would be good for us as a group to clarify and codify, like, what is the intent? Are we recording and live streaming? Are we recording that way we can clean it up and move on and focus on other things? I think it matters since we set that precedent last year that we go about that process as it was intended and voted on. So I guess the discussion point I'm trying to get to is it the intent of the board to still live stream the elements? We have recorded it. There is a repository, but I guess we need to define if we're going to continue to live stream them, and if so, what's the reasonable assurance that we're actually going to deliver on that task at every meeting that it's intended for?
Okay. Anybody else? Other comments, questions?
Can we have input on why we haven't been able to do it according to what was moved and seconded? Why it's not happening?
I will let staff address that issue.
The biggest thing with live streaming is that doing it on Wi-Fi is not successful. And when you drop a live stream, you don't have a recording. It just goes into nowhere land in the cloud, and there isn't a record of what you've done. And if you can get the live stream to come back up and continue recording, it would be from the time you get it forward. But the Wi-Fi is the problem. It needs to be hardwired to have the connection to the internet so that you don't drop connection and can continue to live stream. That's a challenge in 4 or 5 locations a year to be able to get all of them to the same level to be able to do that.
I appreciate you sharing that. So is it a precedent that we want to continue to live stream them, or is it the precedent that we want to be present in all areas of the district, because we can't clearly with a reasonable certainty deliver on both currently? So we either have an equipment issue that one we probably can't control for in other people's homes and businesses and things, or is it recording it and then making sure that it's posted with a suspense? So we record it, there's a standard on when it goes up with a backstop, and we forego the live element. And so that's where I'm asking for clarity on. Right now it's the standard, so I think we need to deliver on that unless the board's gonna modify that standard.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
How many people have watched when we have live stream or when we recorded? What's the most we've ever had?
The January was recorded and posted up, and I believe it had 8 views
January of
this year.
2026.
So that was a live stream.
No,
Yeah,
that
just
was a
record.
recording that was
So 8
uploaded.
people watched the recorded version.
Mhm.
So do we know by chance what it might cost to pay somebody to live stream our meetings for us?
Well, a year and a half ago, it was $1,250 for the year, and then $2,200 bid, and then the latest bid that we've received to have it professionally done, which still doesn't include the hard line, is $3,150 per meeting.
$3,150 per meeting,
Correct.
pretty big jump.
So $387 a person.
And is that, sorry, Michelle, go ahead.
How much is it per person?
$387 a person.
Okay. Is that $3,150 per meeting not including, so there was,
We would still have to have a hardwired facility.
they said they would have to have a hardwire in order for them to stream it.
Yep.
At $3,150 per meeting. That's live stream, right?
Pardon?
That was live stream, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Does it,
Yes, sir.
does it cost anything, how much of an expense is it to just record it and then put it onto the webpage?
There isn't any.
Nothing.
So we use existing.
We use we bought these things to do what we're doing right now.
So you can record it and
And we
if
put it
someone
up.
wants to go back and watch it.
And we've said within 24 hours, but she's within 2 hours most every time. Sometimes it gets a delay, but it's typically within 24 hours.
So it seems that if I'm understanding you correctly, Alex, that we have a pre-existing approved motion from the board. We're not meeting that motion's wording, and so we need to either approve budget line items to achieve that through additional investment, or we need to modify it in a way that's as acceptable as possible, given the cost benefit.
That's my understanding, again, and just being a good steward of I know it seems like it could be a nitpicky deal, but more importantly, the technology caused September not to be posted, and that's a problem, because now that record is gone. So that speaks for itself, not just the fact that it's 8 people watching it, but if there is only 8 people watching it, I'm genuinely curious what the loss would be if it's not live streamed. I would rather have a reasonable certainty that it is recorded and that there isn't gonna be any more meetings that go missing, and that there be a known suspense, not an unwritten rule on when that recording will be in its repository, would be the general direction I'm leaning, to just not beat a dead horse. I just wanna make sure no one else has a burning desire to preserve the live element, and that that's gonna cause any major heartburn.
Well, I sure don't care something like that, so that's one. Two.
I'm more worried about having a whole meeting missing that you can't go back and watch, now you just read the minutes about. So, with that, just to be straightforward, I'd like to make a motion to modify the recording policy to be recording exactly the same deal. It gets rid of the live stream element, it gets rid of the technology requirements, and then I'd like to have a no later than 72 hours on the back end of the meeting, that will be posted to the official, Branson Lakes Area Tourism Community Enhancement District, site. So modify, drop the live element with a backstop of 72 hours to give a reasonable expectation of that recorded meeting going onto the channel.
For clarification, are you saying our website or the place where they're posted at YouTube?
So are you doing it both? Cause I know that YouTube has it right
It's
now.
only on YouTube.
So, I'm open on that, if that's where it's going.
Alex, it's your motion, so if you can just read us how you'd like it to
For
work.
sure.
I would appreciate it.
So I'll ask the question though, because it influences the motion. Right now, to the channel that we have created for the body where we're currently storing them. And we should maintain a copy of them anyways by records retention in case there's a sunshine request for any of those, because they become official documents too.
On the records retention, your policy is to retain it 30 days. I have
For the
not.
recording of the meeting.
I have not deleted
Yeah.
any at this point, but August will be my time of records retention destruction.
Well, that is.
That's per our existing
Pre-existing policy.
policy.
30 days doesn't seem like it's adequate for,
That's a separate
Separate
item we
item.
have to
Yeah.
take up at a regularly scheduled meeting. That's our current existing records policy for the district, correct? Since that's the policy and procedure, that's not been on the agenda, we have to tackle that at a separate meeting. Agreed, appropriately so to do that, but
Does 72 hours give you enough time for like today's a Friday meeting?
No, I think it needs to go to 48 because of holidays on Mondays.
That's
So
what
what
you're
you're
saying. Longer.
72
I'm asking if 72 is enough time,
Yeah.
not too much time.
Typically, yes. It kind of depends on the internet and the YouTube itself. Sometimes it takes forever for it to do all of its
Right.
copyright checks for one thing before it will actually take.
Yep.
But I try to have it processing while I'm doing minutes after meeting. So I think 72 will work.
Can I make a comment on that? I think we, and I said it wrong. If you have 4 days, the reason being the Friday meeting and Monday holidays, because there's a lot of Monday holidays, that gives you till, if we're doing a meeting at 4 o'clock on a Friday for a special meeting, that gives you to 4 o'clock on Tuesday, because most holidays fall on Mondays. So that would cover any time that we had a special meeting, we wouldn't mess up with so I think it was the 96
So 96 hours.
Should be
And
more
I'm
than
comfortable with
adequate.
amending.
Yeah, that was the only thing that would give, that covers a whole day on Tuesday after a holiday.
we don't have a motion on the table yet, Alex, you started with
Right,
one.
so I'm gonna just start from the get-go here. Making a motion to modify the, recording of the meetings policy to drop the live element and have a no later than posting suspense of 96 hours following the completion of the meeting to the official page on YouTube.
Official what?
I put to the district's YouTube channel. Is that what?
That's what it's labeled as Branson Lakes Area, it's the full name on YouTube. That's where all the videos are currently kept.
And that was to record the district meetings, our board meetings.
It's the board meetings, the financial oversight, and the MOC, since now the live element's gone. That had only been withholding from the previous motion because of, trade practices and whatnot, but that goes away with the live element. Well, actually, no, MOC will still be retained it's modifying the current policy simply to drop the live element and add a suspense at posting. All the rest remains the same.
To record, of course, post the board meeting, the TCED board meeting and FOC,
And MOC, not post the MOC though.
record but not post.
Correct. That was how it was previously.
Hang on. existing motion we can get back to. So would you please read that motion so that we can get a second?
Alex's motion was to modify the policy
Current
to
policy
be, current policy to be
to drop.
recording only, dropping the live element, and add a deadline to upload the recording to the district's YouTube channel to within 96 hours following the completion of the meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Do we have discussion?
Are you saying that it's not on our website, you have to go out to YouTube to find the recordings now?
There is a link on our website to take you to the
Okay.
page,
Okay.
but the videos themselves are not on our website. It is not stable
They're
enough to
posted
do
somewhere
that.
else. Okay.
Other comments from the board? I guess I would ask the staff if that is achievable.
I think so.
I would look at this with one or two minor suggested changes, and here's my one suggestion. First would be to remove the mention of YouTube channel, just so that this can stand the test of time. All things change, and right now nobody can imagine that YouTube would be anything but the
Could be.
garbage one in the room. But I don't want to have to do this again.
It's good wisdom.
So the official, TCED video platform or channel, if you are acceptable to that, are you acceptable to the second? So if we could change that to the official, Branson Lakes Area Tourism Community Enhancement District video channel, just so we can be clear. Because somebody may come up with something better, right?
You said channel, I think, you also said
Plat-
platform. I
Yeah,
think
instead of
platform.
channel, platform, are you acceptable?
Yes,
Are you
yes.
acceptable to that? Again, just an attempt to make this not have to be redone if YouTube goes belly up or something. We can all laugh about that, but things happen.
It happens.
The other element that I would say we try to do is we can continue to look at opportunities to live stream if we have the capability. But it was brought up in your discussion, Alex, and I wanna just put this out there from a board's perspective, and the board can tell me if things have shifted, being new back onto the board, but I think long ago, Mr. Dennis Wood, as a longtime leader of this board, made excellent observation that it is an important function for us to visit as many places in our district as we can. Now, sometimes we're limited to facilities, but it would be detrimental, I think, to the future of our district to stop rotating meetings through Stone County, Village of Indian Point, other parts of our district when we can do that. And so, just my opinion, I think that I like that we have this as flexible. If we're at the city of Branson, they have those wonderful facilities that have that capability, and they've been very kind and generous to allow us to use that, and we're so thankful when we have that ability to do it. And I think we should continue to take advantage of that, and as technology advances and internet becomes, something that doesn't ever get kicked off of, we can continue to utilize those facilities that have that wonderful capability. So that's just my thoughts on that. So thank you for being willing to adjust that motion. Other comments?
I think it's good too, I'm glad you followed up on that, because we, modifying this, if we were to place a higher value on the live element, is to then put that element, not as high up on the list, so this just takes that away, cleans it all up, and then we can go visit our neighbors, get snap recordings, and move on.
Other comments? Acceptable to the board? Ready to vote? All right, given that, if we could please take a vote. All those in favor of the motion that's been read and modified, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, thank you very much. Are we good?
Yes, sir.
Very much. All right, next up. Next up, we have vacation guide sales incentive structures.
Well, it's not exactly the structures, but that's all right. On the, you have in your packet a contract that we have with the Ransom Lakes Area Tourism Community Enhancement District and a contract with the CVB for their services. As part of that contract that we have with them, they are to produce and distribute a vacation guide, which they have done for years and years and years and years and years. And as part of that, this producing of the vacation guide, they had never in the past been asked to do the sales portion of the vacation guide. That was always sent out to a third party that would do the sales of the vacation guide and turn in the information, and we would go ahead and get it produced and laid out and do the graphic design and everything and get it done and ready to go. The CVB, since there was a problem with the sales part of it, because they had never been asked to do the sales part of it before, made a presentation, February 25th to the Financial Oversight Committee, asking for an incentive program for sales on the vacation guide. And when I say vacation guide, they also use the incentive on website sales as well, because they had not been asked to sell the website. They had been selling it in the past, but it was an incentive program for both the vacation guide and the website sales. So that was passed on February 25th. There was, I think in your packet, there's kind of an outline of what they were asking for as far as that proposal is concerned. Let's see. Yeah, the proposed incentive structure, they have what was gonna be paid for different websites, the digital rates for website, and that's also vacation guide, what they were gonna pay for ads that were sold there. And then in the print underneath, it talks about not all team members need to be incentivized with cash, and some could have a flex day or additional work from home day or massage certificate or other things other than just payment. It does say here, the president, CEO, and senior vice president are ineligible from receiving any incentive rate outlined above, minus a thank you and a job well done. So, based on this presentation, the Financial Oversight Committee, made a motion and seconded it to go ahead and pay a sales incentive on the vacation guide. And then on the February 25th, 2025 meeting, the board of directors went ahead and followed suit, and they agreed to pay an incentive on vacation guide sales and on the website sales. Well, as Financial Oversight Committee, I received a summary of the sales incentive, and on the sales incentive that was turned into us for payment for the vacation guide sales, there were charges, or there were charges for graphic design, for storytelling and editing, for leadership, guidance, oversight, instruction, storytelling, editing, and project management in the amount of $21,500 that I feel should have been used by the district to help the stakeholders bring more people to Branson. So it was paid directly to individuals and not used for the district.
Is that it?
That's kind of the,
Okay.
I guess, going forward, I guess we need to know what we need to do in this case and what our expectations are going forward.
So what questions, comments, other discussion do we have on this matter?
So I think I'm the newest member, so I'm playing catch up a lot. You just provide a lot of good information, but in one sentence, can you tell me what the issue is? Cause I was trying to follow along, and read and everything, and I'm a little bit confused, so can you just tell me real quick what the issue is?
Yes, we agreed to pay them sales incentives, and we are paying on other than sales.
We paid more than we should have?
Yes,
Okay, how much more?
21,500.
So, on this topic, I would like to read the motion, because I also was not at that meeting, obviously. And under the topic of the February 27, 2025 meeting minutes, says vacation guide and web sales incentives and vacation guide ad pricing. City Mary reported that the committee had recommended approval of the increase in vacation guide ad prices and the expenditure of $58,000 to be paid to EBT for vacation guide sales. Alex Williams made a motion to accept the recommendation, Sue Braun seconded. After discussion, the motion was seconded or withdrawn. There's a second paragraph that says Alex Williams made a motion to accept the recommendation to pay $58,000 to EBT for vacation guide sales. Sue Braun seconded. All present voted aye. Motion carried.
So we paid $21,500 on top of that 58,000?
No, we paid included in that 58,000 was money paid for sales, and then an additional 21,500 included in that 58,000 was paid for graphic design and these other services that we pay for in our annual contract.
Angela, could you confirm for us, did we get separate billings for $58,000 and $21,500?
I had multiple months of billings for commissions for $29,000, and the final summary, the total request was for $29,000 there.
So of the 58, we were only billed for 29?
Now, we were billed 29 twice for 58
Okay.
total, but the second billing is what you have here that says sales incentive summary.
Okay. So this one page in here that says that was attached to the secondary $29,000 bill?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to just mention that we did a little homework, cause I'm a numbers guy. We did a little homework in 22, vacation guide sales were 57, 459 in 2023. Well, the numbers are in your packet, if you please review those, but we went from 57 to 233 to 147 rounded up to 354 rounded down. Website sales went from 186 rounded up, 97, 98 in 23, 153 in 24, and 139 in 25. In total for those 4 years, we went from sales of 243 up to 494 rounded up in 2025. The year over year change from 24 to 25 with this implemented increased almost $200,000. So 194,000 on 300,000. And the commissions that we could uncover went from 73,000 in 22, almost 100,000 in 23, 90,000 in 24, and then 58,000 in 25. So in total, the district increased its revenue by 194,000 and paid 33% less on those total dollars. As a percentage, our percentages went down considerably on the commission rate that we were charged. So I just think that that's impactful to look at this. I would also just, not being there when this motion was passed, I think it's certainly clear to me that in the future on something like this, that we need to be very clear from a contractual basis what we are and are not reimbursing for a sales incentive and what that means, and we'll clean that up going forward. But I wanted to bring those items up to the board's attention because I think that that monetarily does matter here. Yes,
So
sir.
to clean it up, we'd be in a contract, is that a closed session issue that we have to go in closed session and clean it up in a contract?
If we were going to modify
If
the
we're gonna
contract.
modify it,
you know,
So
I
for
think
the,
this-
for what we're talking about today, we, instead of losing the $21,000 to use to market the district, we actually gained $190-some thousand to market the district. And we're upset about this.
Well, I think the question is, was the 21,500 sales incentives, or was it something else, is what Sue's articulating.
And based upon what was motion and second in both of these, and the proposal that was presented to us, that 21,000 should not have been paid out that way.
Which would took us over 200-some thousand more than what we've ever had before. Cause we had the extra 21.
I'm gonna get clarity.
I think we have cleared.
The attorney says that we made $194,000 more for the district of market than we've ever had before. Is that, am I understanding your numbers?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I.
Let me pose a question to the board. If we were presented an invoice for 58,000 for sales incentives, and only that invoice, because that's what a sales group does. If we were presented that, would we pay that in full under this motion?
As long as we had sales to back it up, sure, we would pay it.
So we have 194,000
Actually,
in addition, not just repeat, because we paid 90 grand to generate 300 grand
To
in
an outside
24.
contractor that
Yeah.
was getting 30%
Yeah.
commission, yes.
Yeah, as you stated, they were not engaged, contracted previously to provide sales.
Correct. Correct.
So I asked the board that question because I wasn't here when this was passed. I just had what was in the meeting minutes, didn't see a recorded session on this.
Yeah, I just wanna try, and I'm sorry, cause I also wasn't here, it's been a long week and it's Friday afternoon, but I just wanna make sure I understand too. So there was a motion passed to pay out $58,000. We paid out $58,000, but there was a question of the money, that 58,000, there's a question on a portion of that of whether it should have been paid out. Is that the motion? Or is it not the motion, that's the issue?
Yes.
And so, if that 21,000 was not paid out appropriately, and you go back to the original motion, approve it, and I've not read the motion, but go back to the original motion, approving the 58,000, would we still have to pay the difference? There's still a motion to pay $58,000.
58,000 as a sales incentive based upon their sales.
Right, a motion to
He's
pay
saying
that.
the balance that you don't think is contestable, he's asking you to say that
Oh,
that's still
no,
carried.
that would be paid, yes.
Okay, so we pay
Yeah.
out 58,000 plus the 21,500.
No, I think she's saying we shouldn't have paid the 21.5,
Right.
but we should pay the 58. But what I heard Angela say is we paid 58.
We could pay 58.
It's just the backup documentation included monies that were included in items that Sue had
Right.
shown were not in keeping with the.
With the motion in the second. And the presentation.
Yeah, and I guess here's my struggle, and I guess I'm in the service business, so maybe I see this a little differently, so I own that. But being in the service business, if you agree to pay me 58,000, and I send you a bill for 58,000, you don't get to tell me what to do with my money. I earned my money. And I mean, that came out a little more crude than I'd like. Just ask for indulgence from the audience that it is April 10th. So please forgive me if it came out a little crude, but I think to that point, Sue brings up excellent observations that are worthy of time spent making sure that we have clarity in our contracts and clarity in what we're paying for. So I don't want to detract from that, Sue, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but in this case, it appears that we were sent bills for 58,000 for sales incentives and we paid them. The fact that the contractor used it to incentivize their employees in whatever way they deem necessary or important. That to me is beyond the scope of what our board does.
Well, that's where the whole discussion about sales incentives throws me, because I'm reading this right. Alex made a motion to accept the recommendation to pay $58,000 to EBT for Vacation God sales. Sue seconded, everybody said aye. Then I don't see where it says in sales incentives or Frank's costs, right? It just says we will pay $58,000 to EBT for their Vacation God sales, which is what we then did. So was the motion not clear, or was there more to the motion than the minutes reflect, or?
I think you're onto something there, and that's where I appreciate the numbers speak for themselves, nobody can argue the numbers. So from a business standpoint, it carries its own, water. I think Derek's comment about the follow-up, clearer expectations is what's needed here. The backup document, references specific exclusions, and then the payout ends up saying that ended up happening. So you can say that's uncontestable because the motion said something, but I think the ask was clarity. If there's gonna be a shift in the plan, that there be some type of update, or we do a better job to make better motions. That's what you're saying, is make better motions and make clearer expectations, and that'll get rid of some of that's what I'm hearing. And when you look at the backup document, it doesn't match the motion, so it was a not well executed motion if the concern from the backup document, you know what I'm saying, doesn't line up with what was authorized, so.
Right, I mean, very similar to your point earlier when we were talking about live streaming meetings or not, right? There's a motion, there's a policy. If you were to refer back to the minutes on that, you look what's happening, we could line those up. If you look at this, the motion says pay them $58,000, that apparently is what happened. If there's something else, if it was intended that money was for something else, in the future, we should make sure that it's in the motion.
Or if we're going to want
Or
to put
condition it or something,
restrictions, yeah, I think my takeaway just is that we have concerns about making sure that this is spent on a certain thing, and that we need to, as a board, make sure to properly craft those motions, and then if necessary, include items as attachments to those motions to point to numerical examples or numerical items. That's my take.
And if the district's money wasn't, respected in the process, I mean, again, I preface that with the performance was there, so that alleviates the major concern. Then it's just, okay, the next big threat in my mind is just making better quality motions that hit your objectives and concerns. 'Cause it's not, I mean, the performance is there, so then it's doing a better job making sure our backup information lines up with the motions, and that'll eliminate this from happening again, or at least help mitigate it a little bit.
But to be fair, in the motion that he just read,
Yeah.
that's all it really needs to say. It doesn't need to be any more detail, because we're dealing with contract. We don't care what
That'd be the case.
What's
What's the point of the supplemental information?
Well, that's kind of a whole.
Which isn't it, I mean, that was presented, the board didn't create it.
Yeah, I think it's just giving us too much detail.
Yeah, I would say that,
Sometimes less detail, you get $58,000 for.
But it begs the question, right? I mean, the
Right.
motion carries on its own. I think everyone made that apparently clear, and the financials speak for themselves, but just, yeah, if it's meant to be less leash, let us do our thing, then don't piss out.
Yeah, but at the same time, isn't that kind of us speaking on both sides of our mouth? On the one hand, we want full transparency, and on the other hand, we just don't want them to tell us everything. And that's what we were just talking about, recording meetings and live streaming, and so do we wanna know or do we not wanna know, right? I mean, that puts them in a really tough position, I would think. Don't tell us everything, but tell us some of the things. And I think full transparency is what we really want, that's what we've been asking for, and I think that's what they've been doing. And then we wanna say, well, now you've told us too much, and so now what you've told us doesn't line up with what we agreed to pay you. I mean, and again, I have the benefit of hindsight because I wasn't here for any of this, right? So all I get to see is what the notes say and then what's been presented here. So I would say from an outsider, as I look at that, I think that puts them in a tough position. And I think what we've all been working towards, or what I believe everybody before I got here and has been here, is full transparency. I think that's better, to have the full transparency, and then we can have the discussions of if changes or something needs to be made in what they're doing. so,
For sure. I mean, it's not challenging, I'm just saying, this being here and the motion being the way it's written,
Yeah.
they don't line up. And so,
That's-
if this is a
that's-
reaction,
yeah.
if this is a reaction to them, you know, a knee-jerk reaction to being hit upside the head by the board, which is not lost on anybody, it was very contentious last year. It's just moving forward and figuring out what that looks like, so that we can work together and accomplish the objective, which is taking care of the district. That's why, again, the money is there, they did a great job, they got a return on investment, and they asked for better motions, I mean, it's really not, there's nothing else really to add to it, I would think, beyond that.
Our board's motions are not the responsibility of our contractor. And the contractor has a reasonable expectation to be paid timely when services are rendered. And so I think from that standpoint, it might be clear, based on the motion, we paid them $58,000. So that, for the record, it must read that we paid them $58,000 for services rendered. That, to use your language, Alex, that is not contestable. So we will, I think as a board takeaway that Sue's presented, we will be very intentional about our motions going forward. We'll be very intentional about our motions going forward. And we'll be intentional about communicating and we continue to improve. Now, I won't speak to contentiousness prior to becoming the board, but we haven't been contentious and I don't have any desire to be contentious. We all have to work together in this community to solve the one key mission of this district is to spend money to bring visitors, right? I think we can, well, if you don't agree with that, I would challenge you to consider why you're here. Because that is the district's one and only state statutory, provision. So, have we addressed the concerns to this point, Sue?
You have, but, you know, as they said, they don't match up, so.
So basically, everybody thought they were voting just for sales incentive, and they felt that they could use the money for other things. And these people probably deserved all this money. I mean, the results speak for themselves, but the board thought that they were voting for that money just to be for sales incentive. So it's just a matter of choice, that's all.
And we give them 2.9 million to pay these other things. I do.
Yeah,
We earn,
I mean,
we
again,
earn,
I would say.
we give it, we earn it.
Yeah, I would
Earn
say,
it.
just to, as a clarification, you started your commentary on this item with an acknowledgement that they were not paid pursuant to the contract for sales efforts. So the 58,000 and the 2 point whatever million are irrelevantly, they don't connect in any way, shape, or form, they're two separate issues. So let's not make something here that's not, and I think we can move on. I think we've addressed the issues here, and we can move on. Okay. All right, so next up, we have, new business. Review and discuss show attendance and March revenue performance.
Yeah, and I can jump in here. And I'd love to hear from grants.com and even Cindy if you can. I became concerned at the end of the second and third week of March, based on historical records going back 10 years. I got on the phone at the end of March. I started calling hotels, attractions, shows. Tell me how March was. And the consensus was that March was off by 10 to 20%. Doesn't apply to everybody. Sight and sound did great, but it's Easter and it's a religious thing. But 90% of the businesses were down, and down substantially. We've got, the Iran thing going on. Gas has started moving up. They did move spring break. They also moved Easter. But the drop was large enough and concerning enough and unprecedented for our show and for every other show that I spoke with, that I wanted to make sure that Pam and Heather and the board knew that the word on the street was that March is going to come in quite underneath whatever the expectation was in 2025. And if it comes in down even 15, 20% or whatever, and those dollars have been allocated to go certain places, they need to be aware that this is the word on the street. It's the early word, just to know that, hey, this isn't the final word, but everyone that I spoke to said that it was not good and it was down more than it had been in a whole lot of years. On top of that, we have the gas price thing moving forward. I know that, you know, there's negotiations going on and maybe it drops back down, but it's possible that they start dropping bombs again and it goes back up again. We've been through this and we've had the gas programs and we've done all kinds of things to try and keep things moving forward in Branson whenever we face this, because we are a driving destination. But I wanted to make sure, you know, as tip of the spear, that you guys knew that it was concerning. It was concerning. Now we're only 9-10 days here in April, and of course we did have Easter. Easter week was terrible. The first week of April, everyone that I talked to, for everybody. But that's always the case for Easter. So there's no way to know if this is going to start recovering in April, or if this is a permanent, hey, spring is going to be down quite a bit and we need to be prepared for that. I think it's too early to start changing the plan that you've worked so hard on. But you should definitely be aware that this is what's going on. I even went so far as to call Pete Hirsch myself. And of course, he wouldn't give me exact numbers, and he spoke off the record, but I feel I can share. He said it was not what they had expected. I know their schedule was different. They may have had fewer operating days, but he just said straight up it was not what they expected. So I'd love to hear if that was the experience with the rivals, you know, how things look for you guys. I know you're in a transition of taking ownership of Branson.com for a while now, and maybe even City can jump in here.
I think everything was down, and I think that the war didn't help, gas prices didn't help. Easter and spring break falling so close together doesn't help, because sometimes those who don't travel in spring break will take a longer weekend later in April. I don't think April's gonna recover, because everything happened early. I think we're not gonna see any meaningful data until May, probably.
Yeah. Cindy, would you echo that, or and? Oh, am I allowed to?
Sorry, actually, it's fine. You ask a question of somebody who's vetting, so I can respond.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with what Timothy is saying, based on the different shows and attractions that I work with, that March wasn't near what the expectation was. And you know, MONASP being moved into being during spring break, you would have thought would have just made it explode.
That's what we thought, yeah.
And then this first 10 days of April have been terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, that kind of validates just everything that I heard. I mean, I even have my office just call as many people as possible. I'm not saying there's some big emergency here or anything else, but that's a lot of dollars. And if you were expecting that to come in and everything is delayed by 60, 90 days, and it doesn't, you just need to be aware that, and I actually agree with you, like looking forward, the only indication I have on advanced reservations is really groups, you know, and that's about flat. But our website is always running, you know, a couple of weeks in advance, and sales for April so far have been disappointing. And you know, I started thinking, okay, well, is it just us? Like, what's going on here? You know, conversations with Sue and all the merchants downtown, and it echoed that it was not good. April is I would say it's probably going to be the exact same thing, because it's too late to recover those dollars, and it just feels really soft. There's a ton of uncertainty. Depending upon what news you watch, you know, like I don't have an iPhone, but I started going on Apple News and everything, and it's 95% liberal news, and of course everything is against the current administration. Whatever your politics are, it's just that's what people are reading. So if people are concerned that any moment we're going to go into World War III here, and that gasoline is literally going to go to $5-6 a gallon, they're not going to be real excited about making plans to travel to Branson and go have fun on vacation. They're just not. And it's a really big wild card right now. But I went back 10 years. I was so concerned about it, and we've never had a spring break that was that soft. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense. But I wanted to make sure that you heard it clearly, just to be prepared in case it does become a thing. So.
I will say that February was up for us.
Yes, it was, and of course, then everybody thought, okay, well, great, well, then March and April in the spring is, I know April's always a wild card, it really is, it's like you never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But just what I'm hearing is just not,
Yeah. Sometimes the soft spring sets up for a strong summer though.
it does, and if
There's a
they,
rebound effect.
if they resolve this Iran thing and gas prices start creeping back down and the media stops all the fear mongering to get clicks, then everything might correct itself, but that still isn't gonna fix March and April and what the expectations are for the budgets that are already complete.
Do you have any? Yes.
Thank you, Derek. An observation on that. January and February was up, and it was good. And this is anecdotal, so take it for what it is. My Veterans Memorial Museum, which trends with older adults, went into March, and typically the families that are here come to the Veterans Memorial Museum. But the veterans went like this. And so when I look around, I think that we might take a look at our older empty nester types may not be responding because of their concerns for things like the gas and everything like that. And that may be something you might want to sort of take a look at. What kind of messaging could we get out to that group? And that's just a thought process, because the empty nesters are always with us.
Yeah, and it's hard to even begin to ask to modify, the
Right.
the plan. It's just to be aware that if this is all indeed confirmed in 60 to 90 days, then there will need to be some changes that you'll definitely be looking at as far as revenue coming in. It's really just that simple. And if it becomes a longer term trend and gasoline stays high and they don't get what they want in Iran and gas prices go above $4, I know that the idea is always that, well, Branson's a drive-in destination, so actually when gasoline goes to $3.75, they choose not to drive to the Grand Canyon or to Disneyland, then they come to Branson. And that is true up to a point. But psychologically, once it gets above $4, I think people just stop traveling completely. Maybe it's a little higher than that, a little bit lower, but I mean the point is still the same. So we just need to be thinking about what we can do if this is the case. If we have to start those gas programs back up, or any of the things that were effective in the past, if this is where we're going.
But I think the gas programs were for fear that you wouldn't have any gas, Tim, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought there was incentives, and maybe it was just with, like Ransom.com did it, there was incentives.
The CVV did gas busters.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You get
Yeah.
like one tank free to leave or something when it's time to go.
Yeah.
Would you like to hear from us as your marketing partner?
We'd love to hear.
All right. I mean, it's just an idea.
We were gonna get there, but thank you for jumping.
So, we actually have a whole contesting piece that we launched with a media partner in the state of Oklahoma, and we're running a whole contest piece that is around the drive market, and it includes gas cards in the contest portion of it. And then we're running an additional one on the wind radio outside of the state of Missouri, along with the state of Missouri, in target markets that are drive markets. Again, driving trips, gas gift cards as part of the giveaway. And I would just like to offer as a caveat, I also serve on the marketing commission for the Destinations International Global Marketing Partnership, and Branson's not alone. This isn't, we're not in a bubble with just one location. This isn't impacting our entire country. So every destination that is a drive destination isn't being impacted the same way. The beauty that we have is that we don't rely on international visitation. Those places that rely on international visitation are seeing declines. My friends in Arizona are seeing 35% down because of those numbers.
Wow.
So I would like to say that there isn't a magic button or a finger that can be pointed at our marketing efforts to say, you've done this wrong. We can't make a quick fix like that. We can't control what is happening in the global scheme of things, but we are already pivoting and looking at solutions and oriented solutions. And just as anecdotal data, I pulled some data yesterday. And currently, our market that's trending right now for visitation is the 63 plus age demographic. So we are seeing them.
From what time period was that?
This is just within the last 3 weeks. So it all changes day by day, week by week. But I trust that you know that our finger is on the pulse as well. We are not just sitting back and saying, here's our marketing plan, that's all we're doing. We're constantly reviewing what is out there. We're reading the news, we're watching it too. It would be wonderful if we could hear some of these things directly. We no longer are invited to the show league meetings, so we don't hear what the show league is saying. Tim, you can call me anytime. You can text me and be like, hey, you know what? We could use a push on this or help us push this on social media. We're here to help. We would love to do those things. We're sending Francie out to do more things. We're ready. We're willing to help. And I know we're talking about additional funds at which meeting? Remind me. FOC. We're ready. We're ready to put together some compelling programs that are strictly within the drive market to really go after it and nail down the fact that we're easy, it's more affordable, and if we need to throw in some more gas cards, we will. Really nice thing, one of our marketing partners sent us $300 in gift cards for free. Basically said, how can we help you tell a story? And I'm like, you know what, we could use some gift cards so that we don't have to go pay for them with our credit card and turn it into TCD. They sent us gift cards, so we've got those ready to use for another contest. So we're ready, we're willing, we're not sitting back just saying, you know, our job is done. We're here doing the work, earning that $2 million that is paid to us for the work that we do.
Great, and I don't doubt for even 5 seconds you are. I just, it concerned me enough that I wanted you to hear it out of
Absolutely.
out of the horse's mouth. Just
We
to know
appreciate that very much.
This wasn't hearsay or
You
anything
got it.
else, you know, okay, well, maybe our show's run its course, I don't know, you know, but,
Yeah.
but when, well, when everybody literally is saying that, you know, and I know you guys are watching the news and you're ahead of it, and that's awesome, and your head's already, sounds like you've already, you know, in your mind, if this continues and doesn't
Mhm.
correct, already know what paths to head down and where to go. Just wanted you to really hear it from me, you know.
Absolutely, we appreciate it and we're glad we attended the meeting today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Heather, have you seen any data or pulling data on March over March, you know, 25 versus 26? Any idea of?
No, but I can certainly pull it and make sure that Angela gets it to share with you all.
I'd just be curious if you showed any visitation numbers, it feels like maybe there's less people in the market, but
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's either there's less people or they're spending less, right? So I'd be curious what the numbers show.
I have no doubt that the spending is different.
Yeah.
I think that in times like this, people are holding on to it. Because they're concerned, they're worried, they're not quite sure what's going to happen, and that's natural, right? I mean, you think about each individual around the room has probably made plans or changed things, and when it comes to travel, that's definitely the case.
Yeah, I think what we tend to see is that people, they shrink the amount of time they're gonna stay,
Mm-hmm.
and then even within the amount that they shrink what they're gonna do,
Yeah.
or they just don't come.
Yeah.
I think, cause there are certain days during that spring break period, like that Friday to Monday, we can show
Mhm.
good traffic, but then
Yeah.
there's a couple other days we're just flat.
Exactly.
I
And
think
that
people are just
midweek,
here less, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I also have a couple, Airbnbs the family owns, and we noticed when the first bomb started dropping, that we had 7 or 8 cancellations within 2 days, which is really rare, like that doesn't happen. And they were for further out, you know, and they were all, older people that were just concerned of where this was all headed.
So did we address the whole point that was?
Yeah, I don't think you can make a motion or anything, I just really wanted to let them know that this could be a serious thing. We don't really have enough data yet, but I did ask all the individual shows and attractions, well, are you willing to share data? And I mean, nobody would, nobody wants to say, well, we're down, nobody wants to admit that, you know, so, but,
Some things never change.
yeah, the best ones were down 5 to 10%, worst 20 to 25%.
So for the record, as part of our regularly scheduled meeting, you know, the FOC is going to be evaluating additional spend as the board had directed them to do. I would also ask for our FOC, and I know that Kirk and Angela are working with Heather and team to come up with some plans for an additional 250, 500, 750. This is something that we've done in the past when we felt like there's gonna be softness or there are external factors that are weighing heavily on people's travel, to get the word out in an additional manner. So I think the board will be presented with some opportunity to, loosen up purse strings and spend a little money that we got in the coffers, so.
Heather, don't you have, a program that you have now that you can actually go to the specific markets and see what's trending in those specific markets? That it's kind of proprietary, but we share the information with other markets? Isn't there one of your programs that does that?
We do a comparison of Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge.
Okay. And so how are we trending compared to them?
About the same currently.
Yeah. Okay.
So, with that, I would like to move on to the next, unless somebody else has any commentary on this item. Okay. With that, thank you everybody for their time. I'm going to ask for a motion to close the meeting pursuant to RSMO 610.021, to discuss contractual matters.
So moved.